Welcome to Applied Rationality. This video is going to be on Epstein and Trump. Now, right out at front, I want to, as quickly as possible, disappoint some people watching and tell you that I don't know what happened, who did what. Obviously, there's a lot of evidence and a lot of credible sources saying that Epstein did terrible things to young women. I have no reason to doubt that. So that I take as given, right? So Epstein, terrible person. What connection Trump has to this? There's a lot of people saying a lot of things with a lot of documents, letters, pictures. Sure seems like they were friends, but can I honestly claim to know what happened? I really can't. And there have been accusations by then young women who are now, much older, and I have no reason to doubt them, so I don't, but I also still don't claim to know what happened. And even though I'm not going to have anything to tell you about what happened, I still think that this is a worthwhile topic for applied rationality because a lot of important points intersect with this story. For one thing, the very answer that I don't know can be a heroically honest answer, and that is precisely because so many people don't want to hear that, right? Casual listeners don't want to hear that because they want exciting, fun takes and things like that. And very dug in believers of one side or the other are going to be deeply offended that they're cherished and passionately held, and I don't doubt honestly held beliefs don't have enough evidence supporting them. So you're pleasing nobody at all by ever saying, I don't know. So by saying that you don't know, you are bound to offend or in other ways disinterest all of your audience. And another part of the heroism involved here is the fact that it is just harder to be committed to I don't know, even when it is true, than it is to defend a side. But I'm actually going to claim that it is more valuable, especially today, but generally it is more valuable to be more committed to truth-seeking than it is to ever defend any side of an issue. Now look, some issues are very important, and they have a right side and a wrong side sometimes, or possibly these come in degrees, but setting aside all of those issues, I'm not saying that taking a position is unimportant. It can be extremely important, and I can be very passionate about particular issues, but I think that if we, in our zeal to defend a side, compromise on our commitment to honesty and truth, we become unreliable. We become untrustworthy to anyone who might not have picked a side. And I think if you want to convince people and appeal to people, then it is important for them to trust that you care more about the truth than you do about a side. And so I actually think in that way, it is more important to say, I don't know, when you genuinely don't have the kind of qualifications and access to evidence that would be necessary to truly advocate for a particular idea. So even though I'm not going to have an answer for you on what Trump had to do with the Epstein situation, I do still think that there are very important lessons in this story for applied rationality. One of them is that I don't have the time to go looking at a professional level into all of this stuff. I'm busy with other things. And this is why we need chemical engineers to make the components in microwaves and cars and stuff. I couldn't possibly diagnose people's diseases. We need doctors, right? And we just generally have to find a way to have experts and trusted institutions. And in this particular case, what that would mean is that we need to have journalists and news institutions and investigative bodies that we trust to do this labor for us, right? This has to be a division of labor. A society just cannot function without trusting that some other people will take care of jobs that we can't do because we're busy doing other jobs. And that relates to another point that I want to make, which is that not everyone needs to hold an opinion on everything. This is kind of why I wanted to make the point about saying that I don't know on some particular topic can actually be heroic, because I think a common impression is that it's actually cowardly, right? You're not brave enough to take a stand because, once you take a stand, then you can get attacked, or you can get praised, but you're really sticking your neck out there, and it takes guts to take a stand like that. But I claim that, for one thing, I already made the point that I think it can be heroic, and also it's just bad, right? It's just, we know we need experts, and that means that some people are not going to be expert in everything. So we just get a better society by not treating, I don't know that way. But as obvious as that is, it does provoke a very good and very hard question of then how do you know which institutions and which experts to trust? Because clearly some of them have betrayed our trust, and we shouldn't trust every single one of them. Well, that's a very hard question, a very complicated question, and I do hope that basically with this podcast or video series, that's exactly the kind of thing that we will revisit again and again with this and that example, and over time develop a sense of it, right? I mean, I think some people have tried to give like a complete algorithm for knowing who to trust, and it's always oversimplistic. I don't think anybody has the conclusive answer to that. It's too hard of a problem. So I think when a problem is that hard, you mostly have to develop your intuition over lots of exercises. And even at that, when it comes to trust, that's another thing, like belief, that shouldn't come in an all or nothing kind of toggle. It should come in degrees. So I'll just lay my cards on the table and name a few specific sources that I trust a lot. I listen to The Economist. The whole Economist network, as far as I can tell, has really intellectually disciplined and honest people. And so if The Economist, really, makes a claim and puts its reputation on the line, I tend to weight that heavily. That doesn't mean that I just believe everything that they say, though. As much as it might be one of the most trusted institutions for me, even then, if they say something, I do process it, I do question it, but it's one of the heaviest weighted sources in my personal opinion. How did I get to that, right? How did I make that decision? Well, it's a long process of, thinking about the reasons for their statements and whether other, trusted institutions trust The Economist and so on. Okay, so that's one point. Another one, David Frum. The Atlantic, I tend to find, is quite good, but especially David Frum. He seems, and this is an important point, to be very independent, right? I've noticed an independent streak, an intellectually honest but independent streak. Those don't always go together, but he does not seem to merely take the position that the people around him or in his profession repeat, right? He, when the evidence seems to indicate otherwise, he's willing to contradict his coworkers, it seems to me. So that's a really valuable piece of information that makes me trust him especially. But again, right, the important point about naming these specific instances is that even with them, right, even though I like them very much, I respect them very much, and I trust them very much, if they say something, I don't immediately believe it. So again, the point here is don't treat trust as if it's an all or nothing thing, as if somehow trusting means that it compels you and you are just at their mercy because you trust them. You just, whatever they say, you believe. It's not like that. Trust is a matter of degree, and the more you trust somebody, the more you tend to give weight to the claims that they make. But okay, I don't want to ramble on for too long, so there you have it. That's my take on the Epstein-Trump story, which is a non-take, but I really believe in it. It is that I don't know, all right? And so if you found this valuable, please like and subscribe. And I, just wanted to do this episode on some thoughts that I just had, right? In my first episode, I was talking about the book by Tim Harford. I'm going to return to that. I'm sure, generally, if I have thoughts that seem important to me on the topic, which I sometimes have, then I'll interject into the podcast. But if I can't think of anything else to talk about, then I'll talk about whatever I happen to be reading. So please like and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in the next episode.